Today, I'll be sharing the research I've done on Venezuela, more so their energy supply and demand. So if you watch the news, you maybe heard discussion about Venezuela, typically the problems they are facing, but do you really know what is happening inside the country? Well, Venezuela, an oil-rich, independent country, has been devastated in recent years, causing what is known as the Venezuelan crisis. In this short presentation, I'll be covering the strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities for the Venezuelan energy industry. Starting off with the strengths for Venezuela, we see that they are higher than any nation with the largest oil reserves in the world. Most of this oil resides in northern Venezuela in what is known as the Orinoco Petroleum Belt, which is estimated to hold around 220 billion barrels of mostly heavy crude. Oil accounts for 25% of Venezuela's GDP and 98% of all their export earnings. For decades, oil revenues have structured their economy as it was able to supplement and diversify other economic sectors. Now, while these numbers sound great for the industry, it has been a different story in recent years. Following the death of President Hugo Chavez in 2013, who was responsible for Venezuela's transition to socialism, Nicolas Maduro gained the power of presidency and began his authoritarian style of ruling. After multiple years of failing government, the Trump administration put sanctions on Venezuela as an effort to pressure Maduro into ultimately stepping down from the presidency. Since 2017, the U.S. has sanctioned people, businesses, and oil entities associated with the Maduro regime. These sanctions are designed to prevent Maduro and his inner circle from profiting off of illegal oil operations and other business transactions. After these sanctions went into effect, Venezuela began seeing drastic declines in their economy. Coupled with the falling oil prices, low production, and inflation, their economy saw a collapse, hurting everyone in the nation. As of 2017, Venezuela had an inflation rate of over 1,000%, which grew much larger due to hyperinflation. They saw an unemployment rate of 27.1% and a 12% GDP contraction, with over 20% of the population below the poverty line. This led to millions of people fleeing Venezuela, mostly to neighboring countries such as Brazil, Panama, and Colombia. What is now known as the Venezuelan refugee crisis resulted in over 6 million people being displaced from their home in need of food and work. While never really able to bounce back, COVID-19 came as another lasting threat to Venezuela's economy. Many humanitarian issues have been accelerated since March, while Venezuela had increased trouble supplying their people with food, gasoline, and other necessities during this time. They have a coronavirus case total of almost 100,000, which really demonstrates their lack of testing capability. With COVID arriving during Venezuela's worst years as a nation, it is unclear as to when they will be able to clear this hurdle. With the sanctions in place from the Trump administration, buyers of Venezuela's crude have steered clear, some even canceling their scheduled oil purchases. This will eventually cause the state oil company, PDVSA, to shut in wells if there is no place to store the crude. With the economy dependent on oil revenues, any stoppage of production prolongs the recovery, likely digging the hole even deeper. One factor that may lead in Venezuela's favor is the election of Joe Biden. While the Trump administration has given some aid to Venezuela's people, the Biden team plans to take serious measures in addressing the humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. They believe that by relieving the people of the burden of survival, it will increase their ability to participate in civil society, putting more pressure on Maduro. There have also been talks about removing some Trump sanctions under a Biden administration, which may allow for easier flow of Venezuela's economy. Without being able to pressure Maduro out of office, the hope would lie in the next election, which isn't until about 2024. The opposition, headed by Juan Guaido, has been battling Maduro for years. In the 2018 election, results were disputed, leaving incumbent Maduro in office, even while Guaido is recognized by over 50 countries, including the U.S., as president of Venezuela. He has noted that under his rule, he would shrink PDVSA, allowing private companies a bigger role in their oil fields. That is good news for oil companies looking to invest in Venezuelan projects to come. All in all, Venezuela has suffered one of the worst economic collapses of any nation in history. Although the capability and potential for Venezuela's oil industry is great, the massive recession and political unrest, along with COVID and corruption, have ravaged this nation, making it an unappealing place to do business in the near future. Upcoming elections and a change of policy in Venezuela could be what the country needs to start rebuilding and getting its energy industry back on track. Thank you.